My husband filed for divorce and laughed in my face until the judge revealed my net worth. When my husband told me he wanted a divorce, he was smiling, not the nervous kind of smile people use when they feel guilty, but the relaxed, confident smile of someone who believes they have already won. He sat across from me at the kitchen island, fingers tapping the marble like he was waiting for a waiter to bring dessert, and he said, "I think we both know this marriage has run its course." And I remember staring at the tiny chip in my coffee mug, because it felt easier than looking at the man I had loved for 12 years. I asked him if there was someone else, and he shrugged like the question bored him. He said it doesn't matter, what matters is that I am done. And then he started talking about lawyers and timelines and how we could keep this civilized if I cooperated. Civilized, he said, as if my heart was a business deal, as if I had not built my entire adult life around supporting his dreams, his career, his comfort. I had worked from home for years, running a small consulting business, something flexible, something that allowed me to handle the house, the birthdays, the late-night pharmacy runs, the parent-teacher meetings for his nieces and nephews when his sister couldn't make it. He used to joke that my job was cute, a hobby that paid for groceries. He said he was the real provider, the one carrying the future on his shoulders, and I believed him, because love sometimes sounds like trust even when it is actually surrender. When he moved out, he took the big television, the leather chair, and every ounce of warmth from the rooms he left behind. I walked through the house, touching empty spaces like I was mapping a crime scene, and friends kept calling, telling me how sorry they were, but their voices had that careful edge people use when they secretly think they understand why someone would leave. Within the papers came his lawyer was aggressive, asking for spousal support, implying my income was inconsistent, suggesting I would struggle without my husband's stability. It was strange reading a stranger describe my life like I was fragile glass. I almost laughed, because if they had opened any of the accounts in my name, they would have seen numbers that told a different story. But I had never told him years ago. My grandmother sat me down and said, "Always build something that belongs only to you, love deeply, but never abandon the ground under your own feet." She left me a modest inheritance, not life-changing, but enough to start investing. And I did quietly, carefully, while my husband chased promotions. I chased knowledge, I learned markets, I took risks. I won some, I lost some, I built more, I diversified, I grew. I never hid it. I simply never announced it. He never asked, and I never volunteered, because every time I tried to talk about finances, he would wave me away, saying, "Babe, I handle the big stuff, remember?" So I let him. Day of the hearing, he walked into the courtroom, wearing a suit I had helped him choose months before. He nodded at me, polite, distant, like I was a coworker he barely remembered. I could feel his confidence radiating. He truly believed he was about to step into a better, richer life while leaving me scrambling in the ruinous. Lawyer spoke first, painting me as dependent, emotional, someone who would surely need assistance adjusting to independence. I watched the judge listen, expression neutral, pen moving slowly across paper. Then my lawyer stood up, calm, prepared, and began listing assets, accounts, investments, property percentages, business valuations. Numbers filled the room like rising water. I saw my husband's smile flicker, leaned toward his attorney, whispering urgently, and she started flipping pages faster and faster, like the truth might change if she moved quickly enough. My lawyer continued, voice steady, describing the portfolio, the growth over the last decade, the projected income streams. The judge finally looked over his glasses at my husband and asked, "Sir, were you aware of your wife's financial position?" Silence that followed was the first honest thing we had shared in years. Me husband laughed, but it came out wrong, thin forced. He said there must be some mistake. "She works part-time from home," and my lawyer gently corrected him, explaining ownership percentages and long-term strategies. And suddenly, the man who had called my career cute was staring at the reality that I was worth several times more than him. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt tired that it took a courtroom to make my life visible, tired that respect arrived, dressed as money instead of love. One. The judge discussed division. My husband looked pale. He had assumed he was walking away with the advantage. Instead, he was negotiating from a place he had never imagined. His voice lost its edge. He asked for fairness, he asked for reason, he asked for understanding. Words I had begged from him in our kitchen months ago. Afterward, in the hallway, he tried to talk to me. He said, "Why didn't you tell me?" like I had committed some betrayal by succeeding quietly. I looked at him and realized he had never truly seen me. He saw the meals, the clean shirts, the supportive nods, but he had never looked for the mind behind them. I told him, "You never skied," shook his head, half laughing, half angry, and said, "This changes everything," and I realized it changed nothing. It only revealed what had always been there. Divorce, finalized faster after That the tone shifted suddenly, he wanted compromise, suddenly he remembered anniversaries, suddenly I was impressive. It. Love that appears after a balance sheet is not love, it is strategy. I went home to the same quiet house, but it felt different. Like oxygen had returned. I opened my laptop, reviewed my accounts, and for the first time I allowed myself to feel proud, not secret, not small proud. I had survived a marriage where I was underestimated, and I had still built a future. Friends started saying he must regret leaving. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't, but regret is not my responsibility anymore. I started traveling, took meetings, expanded the business, laughed louder, wore what I liked. I stopped apologizing for taking space, and every once in a while, I would remember his face in that courtroom, the moment certainty left him, and truth walked in. Not because I enjoyed his pain, but because it reminded me never to shrink again. People think the best part of the story is the money, the shock, the reversal, but they are wrong. The best part is that I finally understood my worth had never depended on his ability to recognize that freedom is priceless. Never make yourself smaller to fit inside someone else's comfort. Build your own foundation. Know your numbers, know your power, and never confuse being underestimated with being incapable. If someone you loved only saw your value after losing you, would you ever take them back? If you have gone through something like this, comment your story below, and if you enjoy these types of dramatic real-life stories, then like, subscribe, and share with your friends.